Let me give you a quick example on something you might find useful. The same day I was talking to Bob about the experience he had with his daughter, we were having lunch. And we were both cranking real intensely on a lot of different things. By the way, does cranking intensely, does that take the experience we're having and probably intensify it? Yeah, but for me, those are very positive words. Would that be different if I said we were working on some notes? We were cranking intensely on a whole series of subjects, and there we were at lunch, still cranking along, and Bob turns to me and says, Tony, you know what? I can't even believe that people could ever be bored. He said, can you believe people ever get bored? He said, boredom's not even in my vocabulary. And I went, what did you just say? You just said boredom was not in your vocabulary. Remember what we talked about earlier? If boredom's not in your vocabulary and you never experience it, I wonder if there's a relationship. I started wondering what would happen if you took a word out of your vocabulary, if in fact that emotion would disappear from your life. I wasn't certain, so I started to explore. I thought, what's an emotion I never feel? Never. And the answer is depression. I never feel depressed. I get frustrated or upset or tired or hurt. If I'm looking for a negative emotion, it might be those, but never depressed. And you know why? Years ago in Venice, California, I was depressed. And I linked up depression equals death, because that was the closest to death that I've ever been. And so my brain said, I will never experience that again. But what I didn't realize, and when I linked that much pain to it, my brain took it out of my habitual vocabulary, and I never used it again to describe how I was, and I've never felt it a day since. I thought, wow. I started thinking about, and I started doing research after that on cultures. There are cultures where they have no word for the word war, and in their tribe, they've never had one. Interesting. See, think about it. If you have no way to represent something, you have no way to experience it. Now, words are not the only way to represent things, because you can represent them by pictures, right? Or by sounds. But words are a primary form of representation within the human culture. If you don't have a word for it, you make it much more difficult to experience, if not impossible. You might get something similar, but if you don't label it that, you can't feel it. The label is what creates the feeling. I started thinking, this is amazing. And shortly after that, a friend of mine came to see me. He was a very successful man who was in some really tough times, going through a divorce and quite a few challenges in his business. And I'd never seen him depressed up until that point. But you know what? In a period of 20 minutes, he must use the word depressed to describe himself 15, 20 times. I mean, like, constant. Like one sentence, he used it 3 times. And my antenna now, I'm hearing depressed. Transformational vocabulary, aha. That's intensifying his negative sensations. So I stopped him and I said, look, would you do me a favor? For the next 7 days, do not use the word depressed even one time to describe how you feel. For the next 7 days, I want you to describe it in a different way. Because I said, you know what? Are you really depressed, or are you a little bit down? Because the truth is, I know you were depressed, but you're doing things now to make it better. I mean, are you really depressed, or are you a little bit down, or are you a little frustrated, or a little angry? He said, well, I guess I'm a little bit down. And you could see when he said that, he went from I'm depressed to, well, I guess I'm a little bit down. If you had him on camera, you could see his whole body change right there in front of me. And then I explained to him this idea I had that I was calling transformational vocabulary. I said, you got to watch your TV, not the one at home, the one inside. What are you doing inside your head? What are you saying to people? What are you saying to yourself? I said, just try it for a week. You know something? That was 2 years ago. He's not felt depressed since because he won't use that word anymore. Now you say, well, isn't that just denial? Aren't you just like pushing the feelings down inside and suppressing them? No, you're transforming the experience. See, it's one thing to have you say, I feel this way, and go, no, I don't, no, I don't, no, I don't. It's another to literally transform what you're sensing by transforming what creates the triggers in your brain to feel in the first place, which is words, and a large extent of your life. So what you're offering yourself a chance to do here is to take negative sensations and lower their intensity. Are there times when you want to use anger, yes or no? Absolutely, because every emotion is a resource in the right context, but you don't want those to be the tools of first resort, do you? No, then you'll be animated in a negative way all the time. So the object is not to take away certain emotions you want there. But to me, depression is not one that I see as a resource ever. So I took it out. And I didn't even realize I took it out just because I linked enough pain. And I bet you've done the same thing. I bet if you looked in your life, there are some things that are just too painful for you that one day you decide you'd never feel that way again, and you don't use that word anymore to describe yourself, and you don't feel the feeling. Dig through your own personal history and see if it's there. Let me tell you something even more exciting. You can also take your entire emotional life and intensify it on the positive by developing a new set of habitual words that describe how you're feeling. So instead of saying, I feel okay, pretty good, I'm not dead. You know? People have interesting ways of responding, don't they, when you say, how's it going? Right? Or just the way they describe things day to day. What I want you to do now in your notes is write down 3 positive words you use on a habitual basis, but I want you to come up with 3 new words that would intensify those positive emotions through the roof. Push those emotions through the roof. Go for it right now. Sit up in your chair with energy as you do it. Take 3 positive words you use a lot and come up with 3 alternative words that would enhance it immediately.